Morning, everyone. I know the clock on the wall does not say 9:30, but I believe the clock on the wall has stopped. All of our clocks say it is time to go, so we welcome you this morning to the July 12th, 2022 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. And we'll begin, as we always do, with an invocation, and we have a very special guest, Reverend Rich Martindale from St. Paul's Episcopal, who will be leading us in prayer for the last time. It's a bittersweet day because you're going to be retiring at the end of the month and heading off to be close to a new grandbaby coming in Missouri. But for now, you're with us, and we are very honored that you would lead us in invocation. Please stand.
Let us pray. Teach us, we pray, Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, to rely on your strength and to accept our responsibilities as members of this blessed community. Continue to bless us with honest and able leaders, and send down upon these, your servants, your spirit of wisdom and courage, charity and foresight, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve this community and promote the well-being of all people. Enable us by your grace, and stir up our too often hesitant will to turn our hearts to you and to one another, that order may prevail with justice and mercy, and prosperity with compassion and generosity, that with the talents and gifts we all bring, we may find in and with one another the fulfillment of our common life. All which we ask by your love and blessing. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rich. Good luck. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Manager Southern.
Here.
Manager Moran.
Here.
Manager Putman.
Here.
Manager McCollum.
Here.
Manager Berry. Here.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have in your packets the minutes of the June 28th, 2022 Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, clarifications, additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstained.
We will jump right in here. First order of business is a appointment to the library board. The current members, Glenda Dixon, has resigned, and we have been given a pair of names. We're given a pair of names, and after some conversation, I'd like to appoint Norris Nibby Priest. This is the younger Norris. To the board of the library. He has been a trustee, I believe, at the library before, and is very involved, and seemed to be a great fit to join that board. So,
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Anything the representatives of the library with us today would like to add to that? No. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is a resolution for SCAPS Industries, and you may know SCAPS 425 bypass, and they are about to activate their incentives, and Whitney Risley from Henderson Economic Development is here with a little bit more explanation. Brief us a little bit on what's going on. Yeah.
Sure. SCAPS went for preliminary approval on their state incentives back in 2018. They have a set amount of time to complete that project. It was a $5 million capital investment in adding 20 new jobs. They have since completed that capital investment, and at that time they're able to go final for their incentives, and then once they go final, it is then given a set time to completely add those new jobs and get back up to their full head count before they're able to activate. So this resolution is just approving their incentive package on the local level.
And to clarify, we won't be giving them their incentive yet until they meet the employee number that we agreed to. This is just the first step in this process, so.
Correct.
They
It
will
won't be
come
until
back.
activation.
They will come back when they're ready to start accepting the incentive because they've hired the number of people that they said they were going to hire. Is that
Correct.
summarized? So we have a resolution beginning the process for SCAPS. That's in front of you. Any questions before we read the resolution? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution permitting rebate or retention by PBR Incorporated DBA SCAPS Industries of the 1% occupational license fee on certain wages paid to employees in Henderson County, Kentucky, and waiving project-related building permit fees on the condition that PBR Incorporated DBA SCAPS Industries meets the criteria of its application for incentives under the Kentucky Business Investment Act. Whereas Henderson County, Kentucky has adopted an occupational license fee ordinance providing for an occupational license fee of 1% on certain wages paid to employees in Henderson County. Whereas PBR Incorporated DBA SCAPS Industries, herein referred to as SCAPS, is a producer of rolled fiberglass with a knitting and weaving facility in Henderson County. Whereas SCAPS has made an application for certain benefits and incentives available to it under the Kentucky Business Investment Act as a result of its commitment to locate and create 20 new jobs and approximately $5 million in capital investments to expand its manufacturing industry in Henderson County, and said application has been preliminary approval by the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority. Whereas the Henderson County, Kentucky is willing as one of the incentives to permit the retention by SCAPS of the 1% occupational tax revenues to be paid by employees of said company for the new employees related to the current expansion, recognizing that said company's economic presence in the county enhances the economic prosperity of Henderson County, Kentucky. And whereas Henderson Fiscal Court wishes to demonstrate its willingness to accept the retention of said payment or deduction by said company as described above, and to provide further incentive to said investment by waiving the building permit fees for the project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of the County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. That the Henderson Fiscal Court takes notice of and hereby approves the application of SCAPS for benefits and incentives available to said company under the Kentucky Business Investment Act, including the application by said company for retention of or rebate to said company of the 1% occupational tax revenues to be paid by new employees of said company under guidelines of Kentucky Business Investment Act. That the approval herein granted is subject to said company receiving final approval of its application and meeting all terms and conditions of its eligibility for said benefits under the Kentucky Business Investment Act and continued compliance therewith. That for 10 years subsequent to the activation date, as that term is defined in the agreement required by the Kentucky Business Investment Incentive State Program by and among the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority, KEDFA, CAPS, and all the necessary parties, SCAPS shall be entitled to retain and to have rebated to its the 1% occupational license fee, which would otherwise be paid by new employees of said company from their respective salaries and wages. New employees shall be defined as the number of full-time employees over and above 70. The employee base provided in its KEDFA application. The 1% retention or rebate shall not apply to existing employees, any number of employees below 70, or other income or net profits of said company, and shall only apply to occupational license fees on wages paid to employees in Henderson County, Kentucky, sometimes otherwise referred to as payroll taxes. That the Henderson Fiscal Court hereby waives the building permit fees related to the expansion of SCAPS Industries as part of the project.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next is an MOU that's been requested of us involving talk groups and communication among emergency responders in the eastern end of Henderson County and western end of Davis County. And Jordan Webb from 911 Center is with us to brief us a little bit more on this.
Sure. Thank you, Judge. So Davis County is just now coming on board with the P25 system, which was the project that we underwent a few years ago. The city of Owensboro has had the P25 system for quite some time, but the county, as far as their county fire departments, are just now coming on board with Motorola. So this document basically gives management and order to the county of Henderson and Davis County, and allows myself and their 911 director, Paul Nave, to allow like Stanley, which is in Davis County, to have the channels for Spotsville and Reed, as they would be a mutual aid to them, and then as well as Hebbardsville and the Sorgo area. And then any further needs of channels would just allow us to do so with this document. Recently, we had the Big Rivers incident where Owensboro County Fire Department was called out for technical rescue with our city technical rescue. This would also allow for them to have interoperability with communications in those types of events as well. So,
And for that, we need a formal MOU. So, any questions about that? Just trying to make it
Do we
better
need to-
communication.
Do we need to read it first?
No.
I'd make a motion to approve then.
I've reviewed it.
Second.
It's approved as to form and legality.
Thank you. I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second.
Yes.
Any other questions of Jordan?
thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next in your packet is the kind of formal acknowledgement that the state is going to continue to hold back in our coal severance funds the money, the $339,000 and change that we put aside for potential use with the airport project. This is acknowledgement that they're going to continue to do that. We haven't used any of that money yet, but we need to sign this document to make sure they keep it back and for the certain purpose that we requested. And if we ever have to request it, it'll be ready for us. So that's what this document is. And we need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, I'd like to point out one thing. This year, this is now a 2-year document. The last few years, it's been a 1-year. So we will not have to go through this again next spring.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
I have reviewed it, and it is approved as to form and legality.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Yep, second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is our resolution approving an SAP contract, Substance Abuse Program contract, with the state for 50 male SAP beds. And Jailer Brady is with us. Anything you'd like to add to this? It might help explain it any further. This is kind of an annual contract with the state. You see the resolution. Any questions about this? If we want this money and we want this program, we need to sign this agreement every year with the state. So I'll have the clerk read the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the county judge executive to execute memorandum of agreement contract with the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department of Corrections for substance abuse program, beds, and services for felony inmates with substance abuse disorder. Whereas the Kentucky Department of Corrections contracts with local jails to provide substance abuse program beds and programming for felons with substance abuse disorder, and whereas the Kentucky Department of Corrections has identified the need for 50 male SAP beds at the Henderson County Detention Center, for which they will reimburse HCDC an additional per diem. And whereas the Henderson County Detention Center wishes to provide these services in accordance with the terms and conditions requested by the Department of Corrections, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court deems it in the best interest of Henderson County to enter into agreement with the Kentucky Department of Corrections for the Henderson County Detention Center to provide these services. Now therefore be resolved that the Henderson County Fiscal Court authorizes and directs County Judge Executive Brad Schneider to execute the attached documents entitled Contract, Memorandum of Agreement, and Memorandum of Agreement Standard Terms and Conditions to establish a SAP program in accordance with the terms thereof at the Henderson County Detention Center, and execute any and all other necessary and appropriate documents required to effectuate the intent thereof.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we have the building lease for the new license branch Real ID office location at the former CSC building at the detention center. And Jailer Brady, if you wouldn't mind coming up, we've got a little bit of just a little wrinkle in this, and I'll ask for Mr. Gold's help in making sure everybody understands what we have to do. When the jail was built, the new jail was built, it was, and Master McCullough might remember this, there was an entity created to own it. I believe it was called the Public Properties,
Henderson County Public Properties Corporation.
yeah, PPC. And so,
Well, I think actually that was created in the 60s, I think, and it owned this building too. It got forgotten about. It got, the Secretary of State did away with it for a while. I think we reconstituted it. I think that's correct.
so that is the entity that actually owns the detention center, and its directors are myself, the fiscal court clerk, and the treasurer.
It's all a way to get around our Constitution that was done after the Civil War, which made it almost impossible for us to raise money without putting it down on a vote, and we've sort of circumvented it by doing what we're doing, which...
And that's not an uncommon thing for
No,
counties to do.
it is,
I wanna-
it's very common. I mean, it's what, I don't mean it in a bad way, because it is a good way, but it's something that has, it really hurt our school systems over the years, because they made it where, so we didn't, and I don't know if anybody's read any of Frank Boyette's articles about the school system back in the 40s and, how bad a shape the schools were in, but they couldn't raise any money because of the way their Constitution was. So we've sort of circumvented some of that.
So as we move towards leasing this facility to the state to create the license branch, we have to amend this a little bit to make sure that the entity that they're leasing from in the document says PPC. Shouldn't slow anything down. I think what we're going to do is call a meeting of the PPC tomorrow, which would be myself, Fiscal Court Clerk Kirk Weeson, and Treasurer Brenda Ryder to approve the sale. But first, we're going to vote here to move along in that regard. Yeah.
If all the bonds are paid, can't we transfer the property back to the county?
They're defeased but not paid. is what I
Oh,
understand.
okay,
So-
you're right. I forgot.
So it still has to stay in existence during the existence of the bonds.
I forgot. You're right.
That was my first thought, is let's
Okay,
just
I
transfer
was
this back.
thinking
We checked on
way.
that yesterday, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's got a while, ways to go.
My mind forgot.
So this lease is approved as to form and legality. The state set it up for it to be, the jail and the county. So really what we need is a vote from the fiscal court, a motion and a second from the fiscal court to request that the Henderson County Public Properties Corporation also sign off on the lease as it exists. So the judge would be signing it as chair of the Henderson County Public Properties Corporation and as county judge executive.
Do we need a motion to approve that? That's so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Jailer Brady, any other thing you want to add here?
Nope, it's, so far, it's on schedule.
Yep, good deal.
Could we check on the defeasements with the bond rates going, with interest rates going up? At some point after a certain period of time, you can pay those things off. And if people can get their more money somewhere else, it might be that we can get rid of some of those and actually save some money by doing it, but we'll need to talk to your people that are
I'm not
defeasing.
I'm not sure if it's not out of our hands at this point.
Well, but they can, we can talk to the people that are doing the defeasing and holding the money and see if they'll check on it, and
Yeah.
if it would.
We will.
Okay.
I was talking about that with Brenda yesterday. I wanted to see what had been paid off
Right.
completely and what was still out there and what the options were, but we will.
I mean, there's, in the contracts, you can't pay it off in some of them for a certain period of time, and after a period of time, you can. But a lot of times, the bondholders don't want you to because they're making more money
That's
that
right.
way. But if they can get money somewhere else cheaper, then they may be satisfied to pay it off, and that may end up saving us some money if we can.
We'll check on that. Any other questions? So we have a motion and a second to move forward on that with the PPC taking care of this lease. 8-year lease, correct? And
And you've looked at it, Steve?
Yes.
yeah, the math works well for getting our money back and having an ongoing bit of revenue. So with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we will have a meeting, call it tomorrow at 9 a.m. of the PPC and get that done. So the next item, Jailer Brady, is your detention center reports. If you want to stay up there, fill us in on anything you'd like to. Does everybody have the quarterly report?
Yes.
It's pretty much the same. Population's holding steady. Courts are still kind of slow on sentencing, very slow.
I think there's been some push to try to speed that up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think got some holdups with mental evaluation through KCHBC. They were shut down with COVID again.
Any luck with employees getting more?
We've had some very interesting applicants. So it's,
I don't like to
we've
say
hired a few, yes.
Okay.
In the near future, we're going to have to look at paving the parking lot. We've got some very large cracks with grass coming up. It's been sealed throughout the years numerous times, but it needs asphalt. I think that's the most recent update to the quarterly report. We've got some heating and air units on order, and they're saying they're 6 to 9 months
Oh, wow.
turnaround time for the units to come in.
And they're all getting to
Knock
the
on
age?
wood,
Yeah.
They're still holding their own.
Make a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Anything else, Jailer Brady? Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I do
Any
have,
opposed?
I'm sorry.
We're done. Did you have something?
How's the mom and baby and grandbaby?
Oh, they're good.
Okay.
They're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just
She came home? Yeah.
You also have in front of you the sheriff's monthly reports. Sheriff Crafton, anything to add?
Move to accept.
second.
You have a motion and a second on the monthly sheriff's reports. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ms. Ryder?
I have some claims today. From the road fund to Microdynamics, $612. This is a distance measuring instrument and is to come from the maintenance repairs equipment appropriation line. From the jail fund to Jailer Brady, $4,679.08. This is training incentive and is to come from the jailer's training incentive appropriation line and is to be paid with the July 21st, 2022 payroll. Also from the jail fund, Advanced Document Solutions in the amount of $778.53. This is for copier leases and is to come from the data processing equipment appropriation line. To ARP Construction, $33,234.63. This is the application number 2 for the CSC building office renovation and is to come from the building repairs maintenance appropriation line. To U.S. Bank, which is the credit card, $5,896.69. The majority of this is to come from the staff training, travel, and the equipment repairs and maintenance appropriation lines.
Move to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move into good of the county, and I know before we get to the magistrates, Nick Stallings, you had something you wanted to bring to the fiscal court.
We had a clerical error on two of our employees, Dale Williams and Gary Summers. They were actually cut short 5 cents an hour when, from the numbers that was given to you all with the increments for this fiscal year. They were out of sequence, so they're moving up 5 cents an hour from what was on the paper that was given to you. Those two are because they're leads in their divisions. So when everybody jumped up, we just made a mistake in their numbers.
Can you read? I'm sorry. Can you read for the record what their pay should be?
Their pay should be $19.55.
$19.55.
Yes.
For each.
Yes.
Okay.
It was sold at $19.50, but they were at $19.05, so they didn't get the 5 cents difference when everybody else moved up to 50 cents.
Okay.
Do we need to pay them for some time? The 5 cents, do we owe them some money that we should have paid them in the past?
It would be for one pay period, yes.
Okay,
And we'll make sure that happens.
I'd make a motion to approve change it back to the 5 cents and
Okay.
pay them whatever the amount was that they should have been paid.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And we also have one other person, Ricky Ewing. He is moved up from truck driver to a heavy equipment operator. He's been running our mow trim. He's been our fourth operator on that, so now we've got all four running. So he will be moving up to the operator's pay, which is $19.50.
So this is a promotion.
Yes, promotion, yes. He's been training with our lead mow trim guy for the last, 2, 3, 4 weeks. He's been actually mowing by himself for about a week or two. So he's ready to move up, so.
Make a motion to approve then?
Second.
I was going to say, I don't know if we need to approve promotions into job slots we've already approved.
Yeah, and this is all in the budget.
Yeah.
This is just a
But
promotion. This is
a
more just
heads
me
up.
letting y'all know, kind of.
Okay, do we need to do
ins and
anything, Steve?
I think
It
the
can't hurt.
fiscal court is supposed to appoint and set the salary rates, so it would be helpful.
They have
to
been
go ahead.
set. But, for the sake of propriety, we have a motion to accept a promotion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Anything else, Nick? Everything going okay?
Absolutely.
I understand Bill continues to drop by the office and pester
Yeah,
you.
yeah, but that's, he's been doing it for a long time. It's hard to change somebody. Yeah, so, but yeah, everything else is going well, so, good
Excellent.
deal. Thank you all.
I know we have Corey Elder from Congressman Comer's office with us. And Corey, anything you'd like to report and bring your guest?
You are supposed to bring a check.
Every time, apparently.
Thank you, Judge. I have Bill Nickel here with me today. He's interning with Congressman Comer's office. Just wanted to briefly say Congressman Comer's been working hard on a lot of legislation up in D.C. They're trying to get a lot done before the August recess. We'll likely be traveling around through here. I'll be sure to let you know Congressman Comer stops during then. And just wanted to remind you all, if there's anyone in your network that has, or anyone watching that has any issues with any federal agency, our constituent services team does a lot of work. I've been really busy this summer. And just to make sure to send that to us, you'll have my email or give me a call, and we'll be happy to work with them. But just here to learn more about Henderson and make sure the congressman's aware. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
I know you sent me an email this morning.
Yes.
But will you be joining us on the 15th, this
Yes,
Friday?
I will be.
Excellent.
I'm excited to be able to join.
Excellent. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions of Corey? Do a good job of maintaining contact in all parts of your district. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We also have, looks like the entire office of the property valuation administrators who slipped in, and Andrew obviously has something he'd like to say. And let me first say, before you start, by wishing you happy birthday.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. It is another year. But I wanted to, first off, I want to introduce you to our office staff. I know down in the bottom floor, we don't get up around here very often, but I just want to commend them. The reason I brought them up here and wanted to speak real quickly is in June we had our, it's what we call our summer conference put on by the State PVA Association, and I've had the honor of being president of the association this year. But if it's okay, I'd like to quickly, we give awards every year to deputies that just perform above and beyond, and for District 1, which is pretty much Henderson County to Fulton County going west, we had the honor of having one of our deputies receive the District 1 Deputy of the Year award, and she wasn't able to attend conference, so I'd like to, she doesn't know she's getting it, but I'd like to present the District 1 Deputy of the Year award to Julie Buckman.
Hang on, we got to get a picture here. Come on, Julie. Come on, here. Hang on a second.
Stand right here. We'll do it like the scholars do.
I was thinking this recognition, I said, oh, polka dot.
You look cute.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. Thank you all. Thank you.
Julie's a great lady, and in that office sometimes you deal with members of the public who aren't real happy to be there, but her disposition's always terrific. And my first few years as judge, we had an ongoing competition that I would come down and try to make her laugh with one of my dad jokes. And if I succeeded, she'd put a quarter in a jar, and if I failed, I'd held it, 50 cents back or something like that, and we'd see what it was at the end of the year. And I think I consistently won, even though she really didn't want to laugh at these jokes. I've got another one for you, Julie. What do you get when you cross a snail and a porcupine? A slowpoke. Thank you all. Congratulations, Julie.
You run them off, Judge, with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. The more eye rolls I get, the better I like it. Does anybody else in the audience have anything for good of the county? Okay. Yes, sir, Charles.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good to see you.
I just want to thank everybody for the wonderful, the fiscal court support for the Juneteenth event we had here last month. It was an awesome event. Thank many of you for coming out and supporting that, and the community as a whole. Our first official Juneteenth event here in the city of Henderson, and it went well and above and beyond what we had anticipated and what we thought, and we just can't say enough for the city of Henderson, the community. We had a great turnout. We had a great time, just a great day. We know that was a busy week with WC Handy. Many of you were involved in that, and so if I didn't see you, thank you for coming out. Thank the fiscal court for their contribution, and I know the committee will be bringing a more itemized report to you on how those funds were allocated and used for the event. But I just want to say thank everyone for that. We had a great day.
Yeah, I echo Reverend Johnson's sentiments. It was really a nice afternoon. You never know what's going to happen with a first-time event.
Right.
And we had hundreds of people come out during the 2 or 3 hours we were out there, and the activities that the committee helped put together were well received, and it was a day full of families. Lots of families came out, and I was pleased. I was really pleased.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
See ya, Mr. Farmer.
Morning, Judge, Court.
Morning.
Morning.
And a couple things to touch base on. Back whenever we were doing the budget work, I submitted a request for some equipment through the American Rescue Plan, and the request came back to, direction came back to me to see if we could get the equipment before July 1st. Needless to say, with the supply chain going on in the country, we were unable to do that. But I have got the most all the equipment now, and we're ready to process that. The biggest thing on the ticket that we had was for a power stretcher to put in our unit to cut back on possible back injuries and all. I guess it's the same type that they're using in all the ambulances here in town and all, because unfortunately people are getting larger, not smaller, and in moving them around is taking quite a bit to do that. And plus, in talking, we've been searching the country. These things are so popular, they can't get them built in time. There's enough parts. They can't find reconditioned ones to do. We've been working on it for 2 months, getting nowhere. During the course of the 2 months, the price has gone up about $2,000 a unit. So we're now looking at about $22,000 to $23,000 to get one of these. We had been talking with the Henderson ambulance or the Deaconess ambulance service about getting one of their used ones. That since they've got some new trucks coming in, some new equipment. I talked with the director last week or week before last. He is taking the stand that he wants to keep it. He doesn't want to part with any of them, even though it's going to give him spares and all now. So I have made some calls. I don't know where that's going to come to, but the longer we wait to put in this order, the more expensive these units are going to end up becoming and all. So I still want to work on trying to get one for given to us, or to get one at a considerable cheaper price. But I think if we don't at least get an order in, this could come up and get us in the end. And if y'all still want to let our office have such equipment as this, and because like I said, it's going up all over the country, this one particular product. So I don't know what your all's thoughts may be on that, but that's where we stand on that. There are a couple things that, since the Big Rivers incident, we have found that there's a few more things we're needing. We're going to be talking with the judge and all about that at a later date, and all that whenever we get instances like this. And we've got part of the equipment now, just want to make sure we got more to get it covered. There were 5 firemen had to be transported out of the area due to being overcome by the fumes. 2 of my people got pretty lightheaded over the deal, and we got them pulled back out of the deal once they started removing the victims from the scene. So we're trying to look to make sure we have this equipment, covered. You're not going to use it every day, but if you do use it, it's going to be a lifesaver. So we're going to talk about that later. But I wanted to get your all's feelings on what you wanted to do about. You want me to enter into agreement to see about ordering one? You want me to keep on working on trying to get a used one, or you want us dropping the project altogether? Nowadays, one back injury would be quite an expensive bit for the county, but we'll do whatever the county feels we should do.
So you said put in an order, but you wanted to continue to look for a used one.
Yeah. It's 10 weeks or so in delivery.
So
if we go into an agreement with them, I can get out of the agreement at any time if we can find another one in the meantime.
So you don't have to take it?
No.
Bruce,
Trust me, there's people in line that will.
Bruce, what's the used ones going for, cost-wise, as opposed to buying a brand-new one? You have any idea?
If you could find one right now, they're $15,000 to $17,000. But like I said, I've had our sales rep out of Nashville checking with other sales reps across the country, and they're just not available.
And you say this qualifies under ARPA funds?
Do
You
what?
can use ARPA funds for it?
Yeah, it's what we asked for.
And the new one's 22 to 23?
Right now, it's growing. It went from 18 to 20 to now to about 22 to 23,000 once we got it installed.
Yeah. And most services have these in their units, correct?
Pretty much so.
Around the state?
All the surrounding services of us, and then plus, whenever the firemen have to come help us, they're familiar with that piece of equipment and all, and know how to use it and all. So
I can see where it'd be a real back saver, so.
we're not looking at doing the power load per se, but we're looking at doing the power cot. The ambulances have the bed, you roll it up into a yoke, you hit a button, wheels come up and take it all the way inside. This one, we get the wheels on the edge of the truck, hit the button, the wheels come up, and we push it in. And then plus there'll be a locking mechanism to hold it in place. So
You're here asking today for approval to purchase a new one. And that, I personally would buy the new as opposed to buying a used.
When we talked about this during budget time, we were talking new one then.
Yeah.
And like I said, the price is going up since then. And I don't know how long it'd be before we could get one available. There's a waiting list across the country for these things.
How long do they last, Bruce? They last for years, don't they? That something's going to wear out.
Oh, as long as you maintain one, it's quite a few years use. Yeah, no, it's not one of these quick things. It's probably about 8 to 10 years at
Is the
least.
money in the budget?
And that's if you're on an ambulance using it regularly.
Butch, I think the new ones.
Yeah.
So-
you know what you got, you get a new one.
So we already had this budgeted? You just didn't get it here in time? Is that what you're saying?
No, during the budget talk, I presented it, and I was told that if you can get the objects before July 1st to go for it. That's what I tried to do. And we couldn't get any of it in here before July 1st.
I understand.
And I have got everything now but the stretcher.
But the stretcher.
And like I said, I'm not giving up hope on a used one, because for what we're wanting it for, a used one would do, that's been maintained and we know whose it is, and keep it serviced like I used to. I had service agreements and all the stuff with the ambulance service and doing it. They will last quite a long time. Ours wouldn't be used every day, but when it is, lately, it's about used every day. We're 10 calls up above last year already. Had 3 pretty serious ones within a less than 8-hour period of time last week. So there's no rest in our work right now. Plus, we're doing the work on, well, I'll get on that in a minute. But I'll do whatever you all wish me to do. Either try to get a new one, still keep working on trying to get a used one, or drop the project completely.
I sense you have support for buying it, and did you tell me that even if you ordered it tomorrow, it would probably be after the first of the year before you get it?
10 weeks at least right now, they're telling me.
Yeah, so,
And that was as of last week.
so at least a couple 2 months and a half.
And
2.5 months.
every time somebody orders one, until you do a order process with them, you're going back in line.
I would suggest we go ahead and order it, continue to look for a better deal, and whatever happens first, we just
So
do
the
that.
order wasn't placed before when you could have maybe?
No.
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 Yeah.
Well, Bruce, as far as ergonomics go, it just seems to make sense. You need to get with the 21st century and get something that might prevent the back injuries you're referring to. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, the used ones that the ambulance service have are good, just need a servicing on them. There hadn't been a good PM done on them in the past year. But these things are pretty solid.
Yeah, life expectancy was what I know Master Barry asked. I missed it though. Do they last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years?
I would say we're easy 8 to 10 years.
I think I'd have to be in favor of purchasing a new one.
Me too.
Personally.
You're talking $2,000 and
Possibly, yeah, that just seems to.
But I would like to still have the option, if I can get a hold of a used one, cancel a new one and get the used one.
Bruce, are you sure you can cancel a new one if you order it?
Do what?
Can you cancel the new one? I know you said.
I've been told by the sales rep, yes, because like I said, somebody will jump on there. And that's as of our conversation last week.
What's it cost to do the maintenance on it?
Do what?
What's it cost to do the maintenance on it?
Back when I was doing the maintenance agreement, it was about $150, $200 a year. That's to get them come in, make sure all the mechanisms working fine and lubricated properly. And trust me, I learned years ago it was worth every bit of it. We always had all of our stretchers on maintenance programs.
Judge, do we need a motion?
It would probably help.
I would like to make a motion that the coroner go out and continue to look for a used lift and go ahead and order the new one with the understanding that you can cancel the new one if he finds a used one that would fit the bill.
Okay, we have a motion?
I second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wait.
Well, just a quick question, and this may be more of a Brenda question. The coroner had mentioned using ARPA funds for that versus, since it was not in his current budget, was there?
I think we
An
can
idea of
probably
where
decide at the
which
time of
funds?
purchase where we want to pull that money from. We have a couple options. It can come out of ARPA funds, it can come out of our contingency fund.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Either or.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay. As you all know, our contract is not being continued with Deaconess Hospital for our office space and all. We've been working with the judge, maintenance department, Brent and the whole bit about making a move back here to the maintenance building back behind the judicial center. Work is proceeding along. We've got, with the termination of lease, they are asking us to be vacated by August 1st, which we're down to the point now, we've got less than 3 weeks. I think we're going to make it. It's not what we were looking at, but it's going to be usable as best we can for this. And hopefully we're not going to have to be doing a bunch of moving and all again. But they've sent this again to me like we have in the past, and you all have had me signing this. But I want to make you aware that they have officially given us notice now.
They prepared a mutually agreed termination of rights between the two parties. I mean, they're unilaterally terminating it, but the agreement they have sent terminates it and agrees on the date and talks about the survival of any rights and responsibilities, certain ones that were in the lease. It's very basic. It's approved as to form and legality.
I have to give a report every 2 weeks to Miss White as to what the status is, because they're still making plans on getting the building tore down and the one next to it and all. If we had to fudge a few days, I think they're going to let us do that, because I've told them right now our biggest holdup is the heating and air conditioning system for that building, And I don't want to put my deputies in a garage that isn't heated and aired. It's, if you first walk in there in the morning, it's not bad, but once you fan the doors a couple of times, it starts getting warmer in there. That building is insulated real well. So
We have ordered HVAC for that
Yeah.
building. It's going to be
and we,
installed as soon as
and
possible.
we don't know when it's going to come.
Make a motion to allow him to sign that contract with them to about vacating in the
Agreed
time.
to vacation.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
There's a few more pieces of equipment we're going to need to order once we move over there, or get close to over there. It's nothing. The biggest thing out of the deal is a copying machine with a fax unit built into it. Right now, we've been using HP printers that have fax machines, and Brent will tell you that after a while, the fax machine part goes out. And the printer part is still work basically for them, but the fax machine will go out. And we're doing a lot of stuff to lawyers, to Frankfurt and all, that we're faxing. We've already talked, we're going to get everybody's email set up right so we can work on that. That is the biggest thing right now that we're looking at that we're still going to need that hadn't already been taken care of. So I'm going to talk with the judge, see who the county, the way I understand it, there's no one particular company the county uses for all their copying
We
machines.
typically shop that around, yeah.
Yeah.
When we have done in the past.
Yeah, so that's the only thing we're going to be working on next. So other than that, we are still
money in
going
the
to try
budget
to
for
make
that?
the August 1st date.
Is
And
that in his budget?
things are coming along well, and I thank, James completely for all the hard work he's been doing on it. So,
Is that in your budget, the printer? Is there money for the printer in your budget?
well, part of this is all coming out of the maintenance budget. Is that what you told me? Yeah. Part of this is all coming out. It's not coming out of the coroner's budget per se, all of it.
Not all of it, but we'll have to talk about this printer. It's the first I'm hearing of it, so.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk.
that's the only thing, like I said, right now, because we're fine tuning. We had a staff meeting last week and had everybody put in their thoughts of what we may need that we don't have at this point.
Bruce, get with the IT guy, and the faxes are going out. People aren't using faxes anymore. Get the scanner that you just email it directly to the people, and you don't even have to fax anymore. Just, okay.
Yeah. We're doing our, me in technology, I'm the world's behind, but so I rely upon Brent for all his suggestions. Yeah.
Yep.
So, that's all I have at this time. I want to thank you all for your support for the coroner's office and all, and we're going from there.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Anybody have any questions before I? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for good of the county? I got a couple things. We are going to need to have a workshop Thursday at 1 o'clock to make some tweaks to the administrative code. Both the sheriff and I believe the jailer have pointed out some things that they'd like to clarify or perhaps change a bit based on some state regulation that we missed, into our first go around that they also, didn't quite think about. So it's when you go through a document with those many details, it's not, surprising that you might have missed a couple. So the great thing about the administrative code is we can, it doesn't take a lot to make a change, to make a correction. So Thursday, Thursday at 1. Thursday at 1. If you can be there. Shouldn't take long. I'm going to rely on the sheriff and the jailer to express what they would like us to do. So I don't think it'll take all that long. I think that is all I've got. Master Southard, any thoughts for good of the county?
No, we got a rain.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord. It was we were actually getting dry enough that it was getting dangerous as far as fire and different things. So this was a blessing across the county, and all's good in District 30.
Thank you, Master Moran.
I'm just kind of like you, love the rain, and yes, I was so happy for the farmers. And no, all's well in District 2.
Master Putman.
Thank you, Judge. Just to mention, I was listening to Clay Horton. He says this COVID thing's no joke anymore. I can testify to that. I was sick for 14 days with it, but that I understand we're in the red again here, so people may want to consider masking up when you're out or in the crowd or something. And other than that, all is good in the 4th.
Master McCullum.
My roads are in perfect shape. My ditches are good.
How do you do that?
It's just, I don't know. I guess I have to give credit to the city of Henderson, but they do a great job. Everything is good in the 5th, and appreciate everything that everybody's doing. And I'm sorry I didn't make it to the Juneteenth. That was really a neat thing. I was pleased with that, though.
Master Barry.
They said that.
Thank you, Judge. I don't have much. Sorry to hear about Nick's grandmother and her passing. I don't know if everybody knew that or not, but thank everybody for the work they do, the jailer, sheriff, everybody, Reverend Johnson. I missed the Juneteenth as well. I was gone, but sounds like it was a success. So, and I'm looking forward to working with Nick on, and my roads are not all in good shape as yours, Charlie. That's just the way it goes.
Stay on top of mine, huh?
Yeah. Would you walk mine and see what you could help with that?
That's gonna happen. 100 plus.
But we're going to go out and look at some. I'm going to look at some roads with Nick, and I think everything's in pretty good shape in District 1 as far as I know, until I find out different. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Gold.
Judge, just want to, since Andrew highlighted some a great lady in his office, want to point out with Glenda Dixon going off the library board. She's been part of that library since I was a kid. She ran the children's programming back then, and I'd like to just kind of recognize the impact that she's had on the library and on generations of people in Henderson. She was the library to anybody my age growing up, and had been for some time at that point, and went. She was a full-time employee all the way through retirement, and then has served on that board very, very well. So, also lament the recent passing of her husband. Another lady who's done a whole lot for this community has. I want to thank the judge for coming out. We had a retirement party for Kathy Daigle at our house over the weekend. She did not want anything public. The last thing in the world she wanted was something where, as she said, half the county came into the fiscal courtroom and said stuff to her. She's always been very quiet about her length of service to the community. When we do those the recognition pins for how long people have been here, she's in our office. She's in charge of turning in those years for how long people have done it, and she has never turned her own in, even though I've tried to a couple of times. So after 43 plus, almost 43 and a half years of service to the county attorney's office, she is retiring. She's leaving giant shoes to fill, and just want to recognize that and publicly thank Kathy for everything she's done, even though the last thing in the world she would ever want would be for me to bring her up here and say something about that. I'm still going to embarrass her a little bit by saying it publicly. She's truly been she's trained in 2 county attorneys. Your mic's off.
She started under Bill Markwell, I think, for 7 years, and then 24 with me, and
yes,
with Steve.
So she's had long service to the community, and served in a whole lot of different roles within the office, from child support to administrative staff to running the delinquent tax program, just all kinds of stuff. And so we want to thank the judge again for coming out Saturday to help recognize it and proclaim Saturday her day in Henderson County. So we're celebrating today a lot of ladies who have served Henderson County, from the PVA's office to the library to Kathy, and I think that's a good thing to do. Other than that, things are great. in the
I'd just like
county
to say
attorney's
one thing about Kathy and Joanne both. I only had 2 secretaries whenever I was first county attorney, and they did everything by hand. Had no computers, no memory, no nothing. All the delinquent tax letters had to be typed by hand. Fiscal court didn't give them any extra money for overtime or anything. They came in on Saturday and did the work. I came in on, I mean, they were just incredible people. They just got the job done. And I probably broke some law when they did that,
I was
but
going to say, fortunately, any statute of limitations on those wage and hour violations from 30-something years ago passed.
I didn't mandate it, but they were willing to do it. They were
Thank you all. I can't take a whole lot of credit for the proclamation. It was prepared for me. I was encouraged to come with it. It was ready to go, and it was a pleasure to read it. And Kathy's a great lady, and I'm glad you were able to put that nice little dinner party together. It was wonderful. Congratulations to her. Last week, I was in Frankfurt to testify before the Appropriations and Revenue Interim Joint Committee, powerful committee, and the co-chairman was James Petrie, who's from Todd County. And it was about the rollout of state internet funds, those grants that were approved in the legislative session this past session and have been a little bit slow to be pushed out. I was there with Kenergy CEO Jeff Hone and judges from the grad counties and some other counties as well to encourage the state to both clarify the application process and push the monies out sooner, because in Kenergy's case, we're ready to go. And Co-Chairman Petrie did a great job of asking some officials from the state who are responsible for this about the first round of monies that came out. And he showed a map that showed that the initial awards were given to a ring of communities right around Louisville, nothing east of I-75 and very little west of I-65, and nothing in PSC-regulated counties west of I-65, of course, of which we're one, and almost all of Grad is. So he encouraged the gentleman, Mr. Hicks, who is right now in charge of the department that is organizing these applications and disbursements, to fix that the next time around. But it also illustrated the challenge that Kentucky has and counties have in this effort because of the vagaries around the responsibilities of the PSC. And even though the legislature passed a bill that pulled the PSC's responsibility back on some of these projects, there's still, as you have heard, there's got a little toenail in there that was clogging up the process. So we think that when the next round of applications are opened in what Mr. Hicks said would be August, that Kenergy will be applying. They will be applying for every county in its footprint that it can, and that we should know the results of that application by the fall, hopefully September. Sorry, got distracted there. So by the fall, hopefully by September, we'll have an idea how much money Kenergy has to work with. If they get what they need and also leverage that for federal monies, they may be able to start this process of building out the network before the end of the calendar year. Then we might know what they'll need in the way of ARPA funds from counties to speed it up even further. So we've been very patient. I know I keep bringing the same message back. Got a little bit more to do. We have a little bit more to go, a little bit longer to wait. I'm seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And that meeting, I think, was very much worth all the county judges going up there and sitting in front of all those legislators and helping them understand that the longer this goes on, the tougher it's going to be for us to compete, because, as you might know, people are making housing decisions now based on internet availability. So we are losing Kentuckians across the river who might otherwise move into Henderson County simply because of the availability of quality internet options. So, I mean, it's gotten to be that, pointed about that. So I'm not sure that the members of the committee who live in urban areas really understand that. And so it was good to hear from them. So stay tuned. Again, I'll tell you to stay tuned, and I'll keep you posted. But it was a good trip. Good trip. As Steve knows well, and some of you who regularly go to Frankfurt to testify in front of committees, sometimes you drive up 3 hours, you drive back 3 hours, you spend 5 minutes in front of a committee, and you wonder whether what you just said made any difference at all. That was one of those where I think it was worth it. So, with that, I don't have anything else. We do have an executive session, and I'll make a motion to go into executive session per KRS 61.8101G. Discussions between a public agency and a representative business entity and discussions concerning specific proposal. I do not anticipate a vote being made after this session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're going to go into executive session. When we come back, we'll just be adjourning so you don't have to wait around.